Hi, this is going to be about half an hour, I hope no longer, and then Q&A. I'm Brook Shepard. I'm the founder and CEO of Mason Interactive. Adrian?
And I'm Adrian Padron. I'm the director of media at Mason Interactive.
Great. And so what we're going to do today is talk about use our 50,000 foot overview of looking at a bunch of clients' data to try to make some sense of what we're seeing in the marketplace. So we've had a version of this before. So we're going to talk about the data and the trends we see impacting higher ed. We're going to talk about consumer behavior trends that we can see from Google, which is super interesting. We're going to talk about an analysis of our clients' EDU data. And then Adrian's going to show examples of how clients have shifted strategy and how this can impact the new fiscal year, which for most of us in this call starts in June. Not everyone, but for most of us, most of the schools in this call, the new fiscal year starts in June. And then hopefully Q&A. So just super briefly, this is not a sales pitch, but who we are is we're a performance marketing agency in Midtown Manhattan. We work with two kinds of clients. One are emerging direct-to-consumer brands, and two, the larger piece, are schools, colleges and universities and high schools and graduate schools. And we offer a variety of services to help these clients get more enrollments. And when this is all over, I hope you come to the Australian on 38th Street. Our office is upstairs in the top. Google, we're in the top 5 or 10% of all unaffiliated agencies in the country. And we're a partner of Facebook, and that allows us to get a bunch of great data. So let's take a look at some quick data from Google. This is change in spend by category. Holiday spending at the top went way down. Housing and mortgage payments went down. But telephone and telefax equipment, which now is iPhones and Zoom, right? And the very bottom, education, grew the most. So in the past, the last time there was a recession, and most people think we're heading into a pretty severe recession, the last time there was a recession, education was a place where expenses went up. People spent more time and money.
Hey, Brooke, yeah. I think I'm getting a lot of chats here that they lost sound and that we're frozen on the slide.
Oh, well then I don't know how to fix that.
Just to make sure we don't go too far ahead.
Yeah. What do you suggest? And I appreciate you jumping in. What do you suggest for that?
Reconnecting helped. Please let us know if you can see a slide of charts.
Panic button.
Panic button. Click reconnect. Seems like people are clicking reconnect, and that might be working.
Okay.
So maybe just give it a minute, and then
I'll give it a minute. I'll give it a good second. A lot of people say, again, might not know that we have a brand new software for webinars, and it has some advantages, and it is kludgy. But
yeah, I think it's
Mira for letting us know.
Seeing a bunch of it seems fine now. So,
all right. So I apologize for that. I don't know how that happened. There's a reconnect button if it happens again. I don't want to waste people's time. I want to move forward. This is data from Google. We get it because we're a Google Premier partner, and what this shows that is that in 2008 and 9. During the recession, money poured into education. More people spent more time and money in education. I was in the industry then. I can tell you that was true. Things like holiday spending went down, personal care went up, and really the biggest growth mover, according to Google and Google's data in 2008 and 9 was education. And I think we're going to see the same thing here. Consumers react to a recession. We think we're heading into a recession. Consumers react to recession by replacing things only when needed. We do it ourselves, and we seek value, and we control spending year over year. The UK has searches for cancellations up by 30%. So people are buying things. They are buying education. They're focusing on some different things. There is increased price sensitivity. It's hard for schools to give discounts. If I were running a for-profit certificate granting institution at this point, I would probably be seeing what I could do to give semesters away free or classes away for cheaper to people. We are in a discount environment. People do want price sensitivity, and the marketplace is changing during this recession because of that. So with all that said, let's take a look at some of our client data. And even if you're one of our clients who saw this presentation a week ago, you're going to see that's updated. This is real data from our clients. So what we've done is taken a look, and this is not just the CIA, but they're one of our clients. And this is not just the Chicago school, but they're one of our clients. This is a combination of about 20 different colleges or universities together just to get a sense of what everyone's seeing, right? And maybe you're seeing something different at your school. This is what everyone's seeing. So what we are seeing in pink is the cost per thousand. Cost per thousand is what it costs, how you buy advertising and display networks Really what this means is Facebook and Instagram. So the pink line is down with a slight upward trend at the end, but the cost per thousand on social media right now is started the month at around $30 and is now down to $20. That's a huge discount. 2 months ago, the CPMs might have been in the $40 range. What we are seeing is that consumers are spending more time on their phones, and big advertisers like Coca-Cola have pulled out. And so more searches on the internet with fewer advertisers competing for them because they're nervous about dollars means that the cost per thousand has decreased. So it is, in point of fact, today, cheaper to get in front of potential students. And this is real data from our 20 plus education clients. Their actual combined CPMs are decreasing since everything's, this is from March 1st, this data. So it is cheaper to get in front of students. The yellow line is conversion rate. That's the rate at which the rate at which someone who visits the website fills out a form becomes a lead. There was a big spike at the end of last week, 3%. It went from 2% over the course of a month to 3%. So that yellow line with its up and down is sort of flat with the spike at the end, while CPMs, the cost to get in front of people, is cheaper. So the reality is between March 1st and April 13th, March 1st and April 13th, it has been cheaper than it has been in years to get in front of potential students. And that is the fact of the data. Doesn't mean that people aren't having challenges, but it's the reality of it. One last graph, cost per lead versus impressions. Cost per lead is in dark blue, impressions is in light blue. So impressions, the light blue one, is going up. There are more searches. And I'll just go back to the last slide to look at the cost per thousand to get in front of those searches. It's cheaper now to get in front of more people in the education space, not in the consumer packaged goods space, not in the financial services space. In the education space, it is cheaper today to get in front of more people than it was last week or 2 weeks or 2 months ago. And this trend, I believe, we'll see some corrections as time goes on, and Adrian will talk about that. But cost per lead is in dark blue, it's heading down. There's more people out there, the advertising costs less, more people are looking for degrees. We know that in past recessions, people poured money into degrees. I think the kinds of degrees are going to change, but this is real data from our real clients. Okay, so what we're seeing are these trends. The key learnings from this data, just to recap this before I hand this over to Adrian, who's going to talk about specific things for 2021, how to use this data. The conversion percentage is steady for our clients, between 1% and 3%. CPMs have degraded, that should be between 20 and 30. We'll fix that typo, not 20 to 430. And impressions are increasing. So more people are looking, it costs less to get in front of them. Client examples of shifting strategy. I want to turn this over to Adrian now. Adrian is the person to talk about this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to let Adrian share his screen and take away.
Great, thanks, Brook. All right. So client examples of shifting strategy. I think when things started really changing a little over a month ago, and as March was kind of trucking along, no one saw what was coming. No one could have seen what was coming as far as the big shutdown. Maybe someone could have assumed that it was going to happen, but the timing was uncertain and no one really knew when that was going to be the reality of our situations. And with big changes like that comes a need for fast reaction. It comes a need for shifting strategy, shifting positioning, shifting messaging, and even priorities internally. So the way that we worked with our partners was taking a look, taking a step back, following the trends, and seeing what opportunities existed. For some of those, it could have just been a shift in messaging and emphasizing virtual tours. For others, it was really emphasizing the longevity and history that they've had with online degrees and online services. And for another, it was a complete pivot to online courses entirely for something that was traditionally very geo-focused, which I'll get into in a moment. And that ranges from everything from landing page experiences to ad copy. To look at this first example here, the French Institute Alliance Française is one of our partners. They're located in Manhattan. They also have locations across the country. I believe some in Boston, some in San Francisco. But we only support currently the Manhattan one. And when this all went down, it really put a pause on that because they weren't deemed essential businesses and they had to shut down their cultural center. They're really more of a cultural center than what you'd consider to be a college, but they do have education aspects for teaching French and really experiencing French culture. You can even go as far as traveling to Paris with some of your teachers and really immerse yourselves into that hands-on one-to-one learning. That's really what they're known for. But that all changed. So we immediately had to make a move. We strategized with them to make a few changes to the website because they wanted to move to online classes. And we made some recommendations to not just shift to online and make some very quick changes made same day to emphasize online learning, but also make recommendations to expand targeting outside of just Manhattan so you can open up new revenue streams for them. Changing form fields to specify what state the user is in has led us to now new leads and students from Connecticut, Florida, as well as California, and not just the Manhattan metro and Jersey area.
So they've responded to this shift. FIAF, how we abbreviate them. FIAF has responded to a shift in the marketplace. You can no longer come to their super elegant building on 57th Street in Manhattan, to saying, okay, we'll go online, but also we're going to go online across the country, right? So they've turned lemons into lemonade in the best way. They've decided to become online and go across the country and greatly expand their services. I don't think they would have wished it. I don't think it's what they would have wanted to do if you'd asked them 2 months ago, but they very quickly pivoted to saying, you know what, this is our new reality. For the next fiscal year, we're going to adjust. And frankly, I think we might be up a whole lot because we're going to be pursuing people far outside of the geography of the old campus-based practice.
Exactly. And the cool thing about this was working with them in that collaborative nature was we actually designed this landing page for them. So we were able to quickly make the change in the swap for them from a copy perspective, make recommendations for form fields and get those changes done same day after having approval and conversations with them. But again, emphasizing some of the features like being taught by expert teachers over video chat. This is more of the landing page experience. We also had to think about how we positioned ourselves because of this ad right here not really being so socially or culturally relevant anymore due to the fact that people had a lot of shelter-in-place orders. Being outside in spring sessions weren't really how we wanted to position the brand, and we have to be conscious of that. So what we did was make it a quick pivot, really emphasizing that online course with a new video asset that was made very quickly. And emphasizing not just the fact that they're online, but really putting forward the fact that we are going to be using Zoom. So we've already outlined what tech we're going to use, and our classes will be in session. They will be online for in-person via Zoom. But then later on, you can also pivot towards, once we go back to normal, these cultural center classes and go take your online courses and then go back to the in-person on-site classes. It's been a great move for them. Again, we've been able to expand the lead flow and student flow from outside of just the Manhattan area. We've been able to reposition their messaging to be more sensitive to the times and also maintain their revenue streams for them, for new students. This next example here is for the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, which has a long history of offering online schools. They originally positioned themselves for mixed modality, which is a online as well as on-site type of learning process. But they've also since then moved into just having online offerings for specific degree types. Due to the history with that, it was a very quick pivot for us to just make a recommendation to shift with a foundation in online education. This is who we are. We've been doing this for a long time. If you're interested in these types of degrees, come to the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. Putting that at the front head text makes the most sense. And it's helped us to, again, change positioning without really trying to reinvent the wheel, but really bringing our best core value proposition to the forefront. For the Culinary Superamerica, we work with them on lead gen, enrollment generation, bringing new students in. So the apply now and enroll for fall still makes sense, but we had to, again, think of ways to make sure that we can still offer value because we have a lot of remarketing strategies with them where we try to re-engage past lead in order to generate application and enrollment. And some of that involves on-campus visitation, admission counselor in-person sessions, and more. So what we did was move towards virtual campus visits as an offering in our messaging and collaborated with them so that the admissions team is ready to address questions like that. Now, the ad copy and creative messaging is one thing, but we could also look to pivot based off the fact that we had more cost-efficient CPMs. We had a rise in searches, some related to COVID for brand campus information, but also just more generic terms. We also had more cost-efficient cost per leads. So how can we capitalize on that market shift? Originally, I'll call it the pre-COVID shift here, was more upper funnel, which we consider to be generic terms. So less degree specificity and more just top or best or where can I learn, for example. Brand keywords and remarketing. What we noticed was as this shift was happening, there was a rise in searches specifically for more generic keywords rather than program support keywords. Brand remained relatively consistent, but the rise of those more generic keywords gave us an opportunity to shift budgets opportunistically. We like to use the phrase budget fluidity around here, and that's what we did in order to capitalize on those searches. Now, that could be in one way connected to just consumer trend needs and intent. Someone might have been in a career looking for a program-specific degree type that's going to help them advance and possibly get that next promotion. And today, someone might be more just thinking general, pursuing a passion project, starting over, getting a clean slate, going more generic for looking at the best school, top school, school near me, where can I learn, etc. So shifting those budgets around, having that budget fluidity just within the SEM channel specifically allowed us to capitalize on the rise of volume, increase lead flow, while also maintaining and actually improving the CPL across the media mix. All those changes happened, I want to say probably in a couple of days. It felt like it kept being revisited because honestly, it has been. Nothing is being set in stone today. We're ready to make changes tomorrow if we have to. So to say that there would be a specific impact for fiscal year 21 or here's the playbook for 21 would really not be giving you the best information. But what we can do is give you thought starters for that because there are things to consider as we go forward. But I think before getting into the considerations, we should likely just take a quick look at how things would be had we continued normally, because we can use that as a proxy to make decisions based on.
And I want everyone to use the chat for a second. And when he shows the next slide, I want if you've seen this slide before, and Joel, I know you have. If you've seen this slide before, I want to see a yes quickly, or no if you haven't, just to informally get a sense of who's seen this slide around monthly seasonal patterns and queries before. Why if you've seen it before, and N if you hadn't. Come on, guys, give me some love in the chat. No, Sarah Grove says no. Okay, good. That's fantastic. All right, so what this is, I keep forgetting that in this software package, they're delayed by 30 seconds. Great. So what this is, we've talked earlier about how we are a Google Premier partner. We have to jump through a lot of hoops to be a Google Premier partner. It means that we are designated by Google to be in the top 5 or 10% of all agencies in the country. It gives us access to data that you can't get otherwise. There's really 2 ways to get Google into your office. Sherry, I don't know who you are. Corey, I don't know who you are. Just imagine for a second that you are trying to convince the dean of your college that they need to spend more budget to get more students to hit enrollment challenges. Let's imagine that's a conversation you're having. And you can say it until you're blue in the face. But if Google walks in, a third party who's disinterested, and Google says, well, Sherry and Corey, I want to show you what other universities in your spot are doing. This is what they're spending and the kind of keywords they're buying, right? That's valuable. It's valuable for a dean. It's valuable for a dean to hear that information from Google and not just from someone in admissions or marketing at a college. So this is data that's from Google. We didn't make this up. This is Google's data on seasonal patterns and queries and cost per click over the last 4 years. So darker is more, lighter is less. What this says, in point of fact, is according to Google, right? This is Google search data, is that June has the fewest searches for the educational space of any month. It doesn't mean that your school might not be different. You might have a beauty school that might do very well in June. But for the entire field of higher education, the searches are lowest in June and they're highest in October. They're also pretty high in January and March and September and November, but they're lowest in June, while the cost per click that is what you pay on Google to get in front of these people, is highest. So I can talk more about why that is offline if you're curious about it. This is the real data from Google. This isn't our data. This isn't our client data. This is Google, who knows all the searches in the universe. This is their chart of who searches the most for higher education. And we have this for colleges. We have this for post-secondary. We can do this for trade schools. This is for higher education as a whole. So if we weren't going into a COVID-affected recession that wasn't going to drive more people online, we would already have to understand the point of reality that there will be fewer searches for the educational products that you sell next month or 2 months from now in June and July, right? So this is the historical data shows that June and July will be a slow point for selling higher education online. And I don't know how that's going to change based on COVID. I have a suspicion that it's going to increase and that this June and July will be higher than the previous 4 years average. But this is the kind of data that we leverage from our partnership with Google to talk to clients about, to talk to schools about, to help them make good decisions. So Adrian's going to talk more about fiscal year 2021 and some of the tactics he and his team have used to do it. But we base all of our decisions first in data like this from Google that talks about what actual trends are. I was pretty long-winded about that, but I really wanted to drive home. This is the actual real cheese right from Google. And to Mira's point, if you have any questions, we're here at the end of this to answer. We've got 15 or 20 minutes set aside. So Adrian, now that I've monologued, can you carry on about how your team reacts to this data?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I do just want to emphasize a point that you just made about letting the data drive the decisions and making decisions based off of that. So, we use trends like this to do planning sessions and to set inquiry volume goals. And if we can connect that back to also where are our lead gens happening that also turn into starts that align with our starts throughout the year, that can really create some very fruitful strategy conversations and planning conversations. So for fiscal year 21, though, again, just some things to consider, which are really rooted in a lot of the things that we've talked about today. Can you enhance tuition revenue streams for yourselves by identifying new opportunities? Do you have the opportunity to increase the amount of certificate programs or create new certificate programs that can be offered online? The fact that this is something that's seen a rise in terms of searches, there has been a lift in just learning online. Certificate programs are a great space for people to get into and try to generate some new tuition revenue. Also offering online courses, making sure that not only just current students have pivoted to online, but that you really let new students know that while you do plan to be on campus in the future and that college experience is going to be available for them, in the meantime, they can still continue their learning education or start their learning education within college experience with you online. Staying in front of potential students. There is a reaction to want to pull back during these times because of uncertainty. But based off the data we're seeing, you can do more with less at this time. You can still have first touch and first interactions with people to get into their consideration set, which we know is really crucial. I think it's 1 to 4, if not 1 to 5 schools are within a person's consideration set as they go through this journey. And with those large generic keywords that we're talking about here, those broad reach keywords, capturing those leads can help push admissions into a nice conversation flow with prospects and prospective students.
We have clients, and I understand this. We have clients that pulled out of the market in a panic in the middle part of last month. Oh, yep. No, we have to shelter in place, turn everything off. And it's never our guidance to do that. Pull back, respond to the data, change your positioning, look at a different footing, be defensive, sure. Go dark, no.
Provide value.
Provide value. The people that went dark, the schools clients of ours that went dark on March 12th of this year, last month, they missed out on getting in front of many students at a very, very cheap price. And the reality is more people are going to be looking for higher education in the coming months, and it's cheaper now to get in front of them. We know this both from our partnership with Google and the access we have to their data plus our own data. And so we just think the most important thing to do is not to panic or to overreact or overspend, but instead to follow the actual data and let that drive your marketing decisions. And don't follow your passions, follow the actual data that we're seeing in front of us.
Exactly. And then while you do that and while you re-strategize and reposition, really rely on budget fluidity during this time more than ever. sometimes people have very strict dedicated budgets. This budget goes over here. This budget goes over here. The way that we like to operate with partners is, as much as possible, have those budgets be fluid. Move the funds and move the investment where the volume is, where the quality volume is, and where that high engagement is post-lead. So where we're getting apps and where we're getting enrollments. Reimagine your warm.
Which quickly, that's not where you, that might not be where you want to get enrollments, right? Like, this is an important distinction. It might be that you have a plan that you were going to get 50% of your enrollments for undergrad and 50% of your enrollments from master's candidates. Maybe that was your plan. But if the data isn't showing that that's happening right now because of this giant society upending change we're in, you have to be fluid and respond to that. This is not a good time to say, well, the plan says we're getting 50% from A and 50% from B. You don't get to do that now. At this point in time, you have to say, all right, the data is showing us that undergrad is doing better because people can't find jobs anymore and they want to go back to school. The economy meant they didn't have to do that for the last couple of years. You have to be fluid in responding to what's in front of you to make those changes.
Absolutely. It's a great point, Brook. One of the last pieces here is just reimagining your warm lead remarketing. So by that, I mean people that have not yet committed to app that would traditionally maybe come for an on-campus visit or call an admissions counselor over the phone. Those admissions counselors likely aren't on campus. They can't answer that phone. Call forwarding setups are one way to go about that. But one example of how you can reimagine that experience would be to, say, retarget a lead list on social with a messenger ad and have your admissions team opted into the messenger platform with access to that page so they can live chat with prospects and guide them through that process there. That's just one example of how you can pivot. Last but not least would be to reforecast, keep reforecasting. And when you think you've reforecasted enough, do it again. That goes for goal setting across degree types, to Brook's point. That goes to cost metrics across your media mix, volume expectations for search trends, potential reach across social due to the rise of what I would say is just more eyeballs on screens during this time with the amount of people at home, and just stay up on your data trends. This type of conversation today, I think, is something I'd want to give kudos to all of you for spending time with us to try to expand your knowledge and to try to gather as many trend pieces as you can to make decisions moving forward. And I'd be happy to have any other conversations with you moving forward.
Can we quickly, we're going to go Q&A. We have a few minutes set aside for Q&A. Laura Catlin, you've asked a question we're going to answer. Adrian, could you please put up slide 27? Kristen, I think Dooku, I think you need to hit reconnect, unfortunately. 26, I'm sorry, Adrian.
This one?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out that if someone comes to us and they say, well, we'd like help, can you help us with our marketing plan over the next couple of months? What we're going to say is, first thing we're going to do is take a look at a slide like this. We're also going to look at data from Facebook that we get access to as a partner. And we're going to audit you against your competition. I want to make clear that it's not true that one size fits all. Everyone needs a unique situation. Everyone needs unique consultation. So if a podiatrist school or a real estate credentialing school or an undergraduate college or a university came to us, we're going to treat each of those differently, and we're going to get Mark and Juliet, that is a question, and we're going to compare you to the other people in your space before we even begin to have a conversation about it. So with all that said, let's go over some questions here. So Laura Catlin, Adrian, has asked you to repeat about the pivot to remarketing. No, and the question was about admissions using Messenger as well. Sorry.
Yes.
See those two questions? I believe those are questions for you, sir.
I can't see the questions because I'm sharing my slides, but I do appreciate you reading them to me. So we can talk about that. Reimagining your warm lead remarketing. Generally, within our strategies, we always like to have a approach on leads. Inquiries are the first goal. After that, there's goals for applications. There's goals for enrollments. So we always try to create new strategies where we have different offers and values for prospects, prospective students, to get them on campus, to get them talking to admissions. And we use that through direct list targeting. Since we can't offer on-campus visits, we can pivot to offering virtual visits. Since we have trouble having them call admissions and those people aren't there to answer phones, we've actually pivoted for some clients to Messenger, where we create what we call sequence. Someone would see an ad, it would have the chat call to action. So do you want to chat with admissions today? Instead of sign up or instead of learn more, the button would say chat now. Once they click into that, there would be a sequence that's automated, and it would be a bot, essentially, that would say, hello, how are you? Are you interested in XYZ course? That person could say yes. After that, it would say, great, someone from our admissions team will be in contact with you within 10 hours, 24 hours, etc. At that point in time, there would be an inbox button that would say there's someone for you to chat with, and that admissions counselor could be logged in to then chat with that person live and take the conversation there.
Great. Thanks. Anyone else, please put your questions in the chat. We've got a few minutes left. Juliet, I don't know where you work, but your question is, why do you believe certificates will be an avenue for new students? There's a few things for that. One is they just are. The data is, for a lot of our clients, and there's two parts of this. If you have a well-credentialed school that sells a best-in-class education around, has a best-in-class education around, let's call it literature. And you're, so I'm missing this question. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. The question is, why do we think certificates are going to be more important? If you have a best-in-class educational facility and you're worried about degrading the perception of your institution because you feel like certificates will not make you as lofty and as prestigious an organization, I totally get that. I understand that perception. But the reality is that there are more people now looking for career outcome goals than there were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. People are looking, and we just had the data on this, people are looking for specific outcomes around, they want to get a job in HR and they want to become the vice president of HR. So they need an industrial and organizational psychology degree to get that, or they can get a credential, they can get a certificate. We just know that certificates are a growing part of the online mix. And we're happy to talk more about it, but we have keyword data that just shows that they're growing. Rachel, does the admissions person need to be on 24/7 for this? No. I mean, it's ideal that if people have it's ideal that people would have shifts, and larger institutions have people that are 24/7, because they'll have, this guy will take the morning, this person will take the evening. But no, you don't need to be on 24/7. I will say that the speed to lead, the first person who responds, speed to lead is very important. So you don't need to be on 24/7. But if you are competing against institutions that are on 24/7, well, then yes. Right? A priori, you don't need to be, but if you're competing against 3 other schools for the same student, and all those schools have a 24/7 person, then you need it too. Kendall, applicable to public schools in a specific zip code. Kendall, my wife is a high school principal in Brooklyn, and I'll talk to you about that offline. I don't want to share that stuff over a webinar that's being recorded, but I'm happy to talk about that. Adrian Hill has a question about virtual open houses. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit? You want to breeze through about how some of our clients are using virtual open houses?
Yeah. So, I mean, most of the locations can't have a lot of people there, but if you have the capacity to have someone do a virtual tour via FaceTime, that is an option. The cool thing about today is that people are more forgiving on, like, the, I guess I could call it production value, but authenticity matters a lot today. Being there for people and still providing value means a lot today. So whether that's through a high production video or a FaceTime virtual experience on the campus, I don't want to say it doesn't matter to people, but they accept the offer and the second option there.
Thanks. Okay.
I want to make sure that we get Juliet's question answered here. So it's not that people aren't searching for degree-specific terms. It's that we saw an opportunity on generic terms that had a rise in volume while also having a more cost-effective cost per lead to shift our investment that way. That slide, I believe it's the one with the pie charts, still had a pretty heavy investment towards program-specific terms. It's not that they've dropped off completely. It's that we saw an opportunity to shift.
Juliet, I hope that answered you. Thank you for following up with that. Someone had a question, Kristen, about repurposing virtual events more than once. It depends on your bandwidth. I know that at the peak of this event, we had 140 people watching us. I know that if we put this on YouTube and send it out, we'll get fewer views than that. So I do know that being able to respond to people's real questions in real time is more valuable than simply repurposing it. But you can't be everywhere at once, and so sometimes that's okay. Stephanie Gage, do you want to take this one, Adrian? I think you're looking at the chat now.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Stephanie, all right, increased demand for high.
I don't see it affecting enrollment because I think that people will be taking online certificate degrees and credentialing degrees. I could, if I had a crystal ball, I would say that master's programs might be down slightly, but certainly masters that you could do part-time online, I expect to be up hugely. Stephanie.
Yeah. Plus I mean, I don't want to project my own experience here, but most folks that I know that have gone to pursue master's degrees while also holding a job usually have not left their job to pursue that. But that's just me and people that I know. So I don't want to say that is the norm, because that sample size is very small. I
want to begin to wrap this up here. I want to make sure I answer. Bill Bailey, can you send out data on certificate searches within the deck? I cannot, because everyone is unique. I can talk to you separately about how your certificates are doing, but I can't send out general data with this. Someone had a question about Linda Carton, the idea of expanding ad reach but never had much luck going beyond our geo area due to name recognition possibly. Is it worth doing if budgets are limited? So I can't answer that for you. What I can help you do is you can tell me how many enrollments you want, and then I can tell you what budget you need to get that. To me, starting the conversation with budget is not the right way to do it. The right way to start the conversation is how many new students do I need, and what am I willing to pay for those new students? And then we can work into a profitable budget for you. If you're going to start with a budget beforehand, it might be too much, it might be too little. I would recommend not starting with a financial budget, but instead starting with a desired outcome, right? How many new students do I want to have come along? No, Adrian. Lynette Hodge, be interested in discussing we could transfer to K-12 educations. We can do that. We have a case study on that. I think I want to be conscious of everyone's time, and Adrian and I also have an event to get to. I think we'll let this go for now. We will put this out on a video. We'll probably edit out one of my flubs to make myself look better, but we'll put this on YouTube soon. And Mira will be following up if anyone has any specific questions about their institution for Adrian and I or anyone on our operations team. So Adrian, let's wave goodbye to everyone, and let's end the show.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.